So up there we've got a beehive bait box which successfully attracted a hive to it about a week ago. That was pretty exciting. So these are improved varieties of honeyberries. So you might think of them like a blueberry. So they're quite slow growing, it seems, but just starting to crop for us now. So this is a little project we did last autumn. So this is another row of Leylandii. So we planted them as a double row. And then we realised there was an invitation to create a stairway to something rather mysterious. So this is where we've got our little tree house. So this is within 7 years of planting these. We were able to create this tree house. So yeah, it's not quite ready for anyone right now, but so that's our tree house. It's been lovely cool to come up here during this warm weather. So we've got plans to make arboreal walkways through all of our Leylandii, and you know, you could do all sorts of things like keep chickens up in them, or create all sorts of hidden little structures. So one of the concepts in our design, as you'll see just coming in here, is what we call outdoor living rooms. So this space, we didn't plant this out, even though it's one of our warmest microclimates, but this is a camping spot. But to the sides there are lots of really interesting trees. I think this is one of my most favourite plants. This is Asmina triloba, and it's a temperate pawpaw. So it's one of these things which is maybe a little bit marginal to grow successfully in the UK, but ever so exciting. This is our first fruit beginning to take shape on the plant. So these fruit taste like a tropical fruit. They'll be, each of those little fruitlets will become 3 or 4 inches long. Really delicious. Apparently, I've never tasted one myself. Really exciting news. So the reason this is all microclimate is we've got sort of 3-metre high banks here. So again, these even now you can feel the heat radiating off them from this warm weather that we've been having. So significantly warmer. And then another example is the grapes. So you can see the incredible, obviously they're just beginning to take shape now, but just incredibly abundant. So we're really lucky because apparently the whole grape harvest got frosted with the late frost. We seem to escape getting those, so maybe this is an example of the warm microclimates working for us again. Got a few failures. So this is actually a nectarine, but I think Devon is just too wet for a nectarine to flourish. Although we have had nectarines off this tree in the past, it just gets too many fungal diseases. And then down below we've got this is called an ugni bush. So these produce a beautiful tasting berries in the autumn. So beautiful that I've planted out another 6-7 plants. They're struggling a little bit. I have to water them every day. That's actually another pawpaw there. But then all through here, one of them's died unfortunately. So those are more ugni bushes. And then in front, this is actually a cold hardy citrus. So this takes about a 5-degree frost. It's just coming into flower, which is very nice. And then these are olives. More olives. So now I'll just stand back. That's the outdoor living room that we've been in. Sort of on the other side of the bank, on the further wall as it were, as those are Nanking cherries, so it's a sort of shrub like cherry. And then up above the banks here, these are Eleagnus autumn olives. So these produce a lovely little berry, as well as being nitrogen fixers. So they drop lots of nitrogen on the ground. So that olive tree is about to just creating flowers. It's the first time I've seen that. That's exciting. So this is more of the grape harvest. So these are all we just grow these up into the trees. And sure, you'd get more yield if you looked after them and pruned them and everything, but you also get a yield if you don't do anything at all. So that's our approach, is minimal inputs. So this is another little outdoor living room. In this spot we've just walked out of one little passageway, and then what we've got here is these are hostas. So hostas make a lovely perennial vegetable. So these are all still getting established. And up ahead, this is probably one of the most unusual tasting vegetables. This is the leaves of a Tuna sinensis. So this is what you'd eat here. It's hard to describe flavours, but it's an extraordinary flavour. So I made a sauce out of that the other day, which seemed to taste really good. This is a goji berry. So I've never been successful in getting goji berries to make goji fruit for me yet, but I'll live in hope. This is the Aralia cordata, which I told you about earlier, about what we're propagating these. So there we go. That's almost what you'd eat there. Steam it, wash it several times, steam it. Really very delicate flavour, and all sorts of berry crops going in there. So that's the concept of outdoor living rooms. Edible bamboo shoots. These flowers from the Rosa rugosa, these are edible. In fact, this is the flavouring you get in Turkish delight. So come around the corner and yet another sort of outdoor living room. So another little colony of Babington leeks growing there, and these sweet Sicily. So you can eat the leaves of sweet Sicily, and you can eat the little, these taste like aniseed, a lovely little snack, and a garnish for anything really. And this is lovage. So this is really struggling with the hot weather, but one of my favourite vegetables. In there, those are golden raspberries that are just beginning to create little fruit in there. So on goes the journey, and now we come to cherries. So for some reason the pigeons have been leaving these cherries alone, so you should be able to start harvesting these quite soon. And this, coming to a patch, this is our kind of berry crops, and you can just see absolutely the branches are kind of bending with the weight of the fruit. So originally it was hard to sort of find any berries to harvest because the birds would eat them all. But what we discovered is you just plant enough of them, there's enough for everybody. And this here is Morello cherries. So coming back to the, I think those are joster berries, black currants, red currants, more gooseberries, so this is now like the upper extent of the biggest sort of outdoor living room that we've got. You see how dry it looks. My mower's broken at the moment, so it's looking a bit shaggy. This is a damson, and this is the first time it's fruited, and this actually ripens in June, so these should be ready quite soon. So that's quite an interesting thing with forest gardening. You kind of design it so that you've got early, mid and late season crops, so that you're harvesting things over a long season, and so using your garden as a kind of larder. This is just coming up. It's very late to come up. This is Indian pokeweed, and potentially a little bit toxic if you don't treat it right, but this is actually another sort of asparagus substitute, and that's just coming up right now. A medlar, and this is a gorgeous his name's just coming to me, a Cornus Cusa, and so in the middle of those you get a little fruit with a sort of a taste like custard in the middle, so you get really gorgeous ornamental plant alongside something that really tastes lovely as well. Apple trees, and this is quite exciting. This is a sloe which has been selected to have much bigger fruit. So we've discovered that sloes make lovely kind of olives, olive-like fruit, so that you can pickle them, and they sort of serve the same function as an olive. So that's our first time this is cropping, which is great. So again, just looking again at the back view, there we go, all the gooseberries. So they're going to be ready to pick quite soon. So this tree in front of us, just look at that, that's one of the most unusual crops. This has been bred, this is called a Shapova pear, so it's a cross between a rowan and a pear, so it's a very big distance across the genetic pool. So it tastes absolutely gorgeous. So last year this tree was absolutely laden with fruit, and this year not so much, but there are a few fruit there. So they've a lovely butterscotch type flavour with this. And then underneath the Shapova pear we've got, this is a Shasendra. This is the third time I've tried to grow this plant, and for the first time it's really flourishing, so that's really good news. So this is one of the top medicinal herbs in Chinese medicine, plus also it's got a berry which they call it the 5 flavour berry. So all the different flavours, it's sweet, sour, bitter, and so on and so forth all together. I've never actually had it myself, but really looking forward to giving that a try. So you can see these are some of the south facing banks that I said, on the basis of the experimentation that worked initially. So I made these south facing banks and then made alcoves into the banks, which is one way to enhance the microclimate even further. So these walls really get very, very warm, and so if we see growing here, these are actually yams, so these can grow up to 4 feet long and 4 inches wide, and they actually can grow air potatoes as well. So they need a pretty warm spot to grow in this country, but this seems to be doing really well so far. And then right next to it is a nasturtium. It's a perennial nasturtium with a tuber, and the tuber's edible. The leaves are delicious, absolutely delicious, and the flowers are absolutely gorgeous as well. So this is a real top favourite for us. And we've seen in this spot here, the tubers seem to, you don't need to dig them up and store them. And that's another yam growing here, growing up the wall. So I've got 2 yams. Amazing. There's so many plants we've got here. I think we've got about 700 varieties. I mean, I don't actually know for sure because I lost count at about 500. That's a cardoon that's just about to come into flower. So, fabulous bee plant. I'll just point over there. I won't actually go there, but over there we've got a blueberry patch, which just seems to be doing reasonably well. And there's a little grove here of lime trees, small leaf limes. So these are actually edible leaves when the leaves first come out in the early spring. So they're very delicate little leaves. You can put them in a salad or whatever. So these are amelanchias, which are June berries, which I showed you earlier. So I've been actually grafting some of these over because of the new varieties that have been coming on. So that's one of the grafted ones there. So you can see there, I've grafted onto the trunk of another one, and that was just a year ago, and it's already taller than me. It hasn't got any fruit on it yet, but June berries are probably one of the first fruits that come into season. Another outdoor living room. So this is the kiwi vines, all flanked by the lime trees on one hand, and then all the June berries to the left here, and then we've got another cornice tree in the middle. So in terms of the hardy kiwis, so this is the 3rd time I've tried to grow this, so sometimes it is hard to get things. They say you should never give up, or at least give it 3 goes. So that's flowering for the first time, hardy kiwi. I think this one's called Jenny. And then these are the so-called not so hardy ones, but these are, we have had a few fruit of these in the past, but these are actually really, so each of these flowers should become a fruit if it gets pollinated. In fact, there's the first time it's beginning to open the flower. So this is a great success for us, and there's lots of lovely new varieties. So this is the male here, so that's beginning to flower already. So that's really exciting. I actually my first job was working on a kiwi fruit farm in New Zealand, so it has a certain feeling for me when I come here. And there we go, that's another hardy kiwi there. Seems to be managing the dry weather already, okay. So that's again the kiwi space. So now we come, this is pretty much the top of the field, and up here these are the nut trees. So with the forest garden you design things to come to the tallest trees come to the north. So over in the distance there, those are the nut trees, which we'll be going to have a look. These are the Polonia, which I talked about before. So that's looking a bit stressed from the dry weather. There's been lots of plant breeding with sort of these perennial plants. So this is a good example This was oh, it's slipping my mind. It'll come to me. No, it's not. It slipped my mind. But there's normally fruits in the autumn. But you can see there's lots of fruit that's here. This will be ripe probably in about 3 weeks maybe. So like a summer fruiting variety. I think maybe I needed a drink of water. So we got here, this is another lost crop of the Inca. So Oca just beginning to come up. So this is a root crop. Really lovely tasting tangy fruit. Tuber. A ginkgo. So eventually this will start producing nuts. See on the back bank there, those are all the kenaslet, the nasturtium. And there we go, that's artichokes. We've got a whole little collection of artichokes. So this is a walnut tree. You can see beautiful crop of walnuts coming on that. Beautiful. So we just planted this bank up with artichokes because I heard on Gardener's Question Time that artichokes are resistant to the jugulans, which is the poison that all these walnuts create. And also I'm discovering they're quite shade tolerant. So literally these were all planted in the spring and they're just absolutely flourishing, even amongst the long grass. That's another Asmina triloba, so that's another jugulans resistant plant. So all these heart nuts, these are beautiful. These are actually gorgeous trees. They almost look tropical. The big compound leaves, lovely stems, bark, smooth bark. So I grew these from seedlings, from nuts that I bought online. But unfortunately the nuts are pretty impenetrable. They're absolutely impossible to break open. There's a tiny amount of flesh. So I've bought, at great expense, grafted heart nuts. So these come from Switzerland actually. And so my intention is to let these grow up and then I'm going to graft them over. I'll chop the other trees down and then graft these new varieties. So that's a way to improve the varieties I've got. And because they've got lots of roots down on the ground, they should flourish really quickly. So there's all the artichokes growing on the bank. Another paw, and then another one, and then this is a white walnut. So again, we're going to have lots of lovely walnuts this year. This is the best crop we've ever had. And then this tree here, this is a sweet chestnut. So this was interesting. When I first planted out the garden, I planted I think 3 sweet chestnuts, but 2 of them died, and so they actually need pollinators, additional trees to pollinate them. So about 3 years ago I planted a new one over there, and then this last autumn we had a fabulous crop of sweet chestnuts. So frequently 2 inches in diameter, just absolutely succulent juicy sweet chestnuts. So that was a real winner. So that's an example there of this has been growing for many years under, almost in complete shade. under these walnuts, and so flourishing. In fact, I plucked a artichoke off there the other day. And just through there we've got bees. We've got about 4 beehives. Hopefully you can see beehives. So lots of lovely things to eat, and this is a chokecherry. So I grew these from seed as well, so about 5 trees of these. So each of these little flowers will become a fruit. Really intense flavours. So these are great for making syrups, and we actually mix these up with gin and they make a fabulous liqueur. In fact, people want to know when the next batch we have. There's lots a queue of people waiting for the next time we do that. And then this is our pears. And to our left here, these are cornelian cherries. So you can see some coming on there. Lovely autumn crop. So the birds don't seem to be so interested in these. And again, we treat them sometimes like pickles. Great way to preserve them. Sort of, you can eat them imagining they're olives. Another chokecherry. Oh, and behind here, these are cob nuts. And a row of lupins, which are nitrogen fixers and a great bee plant. That's right, I just remembered the name. Sea buckthorn. So this is another improved variety, summer fruiting, a sweeter berry. And then this is the earliest fruiting apple tree, one of the earliest anyway, Irish peach. So this should be ready in July, I think. So they're coming on well. One of the first best big crops we've had of those. So we've tried to plan our apples so that we've got apples sort of 10 months of the year. So early, mid and late season varieties. And then over here we've got, this is a pepper tree, Szechuan pepper. Yep, so all the little peppers are beginning to form on those flower bracts. And then over yonder, that's another pepper tree, Nepalese pepper. This is an improved variety of hawthorn. So these will become about 2 inches, 2-inch high hawthorns. They're getting very tired now, but these here are burdock, and the burdock stems are absolutely gorgeous to eat as a vegetable. There we go. In fact, I'll harvest this one right now. So you can eat the stem of that. You need to peel it first. So you've got quite a few pear trees growing around here. These are really big juicy pears. So my mower's broken at the moment, so yeah, that's why the grass is so long. But I'll just give you an overview of this. Is another completely round outdoor living room. So we've got lots of miscanthus growing on the banks. So these have interest all year round. They even look pretty cool when they die back in the winter. So you can see, like up ahead, they create a kind of passageway effect. This is a blue bean tree. So this flowered for the first time for us this year. So it remains to be seen whether there'll be any fruit. But it creates a metallic blue pod with a sweet flesh. Pretty awesome. This is a little cherry orchard here, and this has got very stressed with the weather. So just up here, this is a hedge of aronias. So these aronias, you can see the little berries forming, have the highest antioxidants of any fruit or berry. So they're an absolute superfood. So cherries. So for some reason the pigeons seem to be eating the green cherries already, but at least there's a few on there. So over here, this is another really interesting plant. This is a plum yew. So this is Chinese and Japanese varieties of plum yew. In fact, you can see that's the flower there under the leaf. So those are a bit like cones, I suppose, and they'll form fruit for next year. But they're discovered for the first time. They're very slow growing, take years to get established. But for the first time, we've actually got some fruit. There we go. So I've never actually tasted a plum yew before, but this is my chance. So there we go. So those hopefully will be providing fruit for next year. So these will grow up to 6 meters tall eventually, very slowly of course. So there we go, that's another outdoor living room shape. So we find the circular shapes quite for a really interesting journey through the landscape. So you can see up ahead, see how the track sort of disappears around the corner. So I think it's almost a technique from ornamental gardens, where you see something go around the corner and you just sort of want to follow it. Lots of grapevines growing on the banks again. So this actually up here to the left, this is one of our event spaces. It's been totally unused obviously during the lockdown, but we run courses and things. It's got a bit overgrown and looking a bit sad, but it is a nice space when we've decked it out really nicely. And then finally at the centre of the garden we've got a big surprise. Oh, just before we get the big surprise, magnolias. Magnolias are fantastic edible flowers. So you can even pickle them, and they're actually quite substantial. So that's something. So we've got lots of magnolias that we're growing. And then up ahead, look, it's raining again. This is our natural swimming pond. So I'm actually putting quite a bit of effort. It's been a little bit neglected over the years. So I'm investing a lot of effort in it at the moment, just sort of cleaning it out. But ultimately it's a self-cleaning system. That's a jetty over there, where it's a bit sort of functional at the moment. And then this is a lovely space to come, especially in the autumn. So this is our warmest microclimate of all. Like the water currently is about 24 degrees. So it's actually, I can feel the warmth radiating from the water. so that's keeping the whole space really warm. So the water's keeping it warm. Then we've got the raised banks. So these banks are 3 meters high with the alcoves in them. So in the middle of that alcove is a feed jower, and in the middle of that alcove is a lemon tree doing really well. So these banks are another way of keeping the temperature higher. Then in the early autumn, or the early part of the season, when the sun's low in the sky, the sun glances off the surface of the pond and like a mirror, and shines on the bank, and you get a sort of double dose of sunlight, sort of an intensification. So frequently it feels like a season warmer here than anywhere else. So along here, a feed jower, and then I've got a whole series of cold hardy citrus. Bit of an experiment, an expensive experiment, but they're all looking really happy at the moment. More feed jowers, and then this one is called a jujube. Never fruited, it's not really actually been that happy, but I've been giving a lot of love and it seems to be improving. And then as a ground cover along here we've got lots of wild strawberries, which are just kind of taken over in a good way. And then as a little ground cover, I've been planting lots of perennial rocket here as a ground cover. So the smell of this flower is just gorgeous. It's pervading the whole space. And then up behind we've got loads of grapevines, olives, more feijoas. So the feijoas are a really almost subtropical plant, but they do fruit in Cornwall. So I'm very hopeful that they'll do well for us eventually. So it's another jujube there, and then this is a loquat. So this is flowered and almost started to produce fruit, but then it just the winters are a bit cold for us right now. But who knows? So this spot is a great spot to come any time of the year, but especially like if it's cold everywhere around the garden. You come here and you're sort of out of the wind and receiving the sunlight, so it's a great way to come and relax, enjoy the pond and watch the swallows flitting in and out of the pond. And if you come here at dusk, you'll find that the bats that we here the other night, there were about 10 bats flying around the garden, around the pond I should say. So great place to come and hang out and swim during this really warm weather recently. So like loads of animals come here to drink. So the bees come here and various birds. There are swallows just flying by right now. And then this is the exit of the pond, and we've got some fig trees. So these actually had loads of fruit on them all through the winter, and then for some reason they've fallen off that one. But got a fairly reasonable size figs on this guy. Anyhow guys, that's the about the size of it. So just give you an overview. A big final wave around the garden, and it's been lovely for you to take you around the garden, and hope to see you here in person someday, and look forward to seeing you online very shortly. Lots of love to you all, and good luck with your journeys, whatever you choose to do in the future. Bye.